What's up, guys? It's me again, Christian Rodriguez, and it's been a while since I filmed. It's been a while since I posted, but I've been really occupied with my business. So yeah, I haven't really had the chance. I've been paying attention to YouTube as of lately, but yeah, I'm still here. I guess today I just wanted to talk about the realities, right? If you're in a position that maybe you're in your startup phase for your business, or you're thinking about starting your own business, then this is the right video for you, right? And listen, if you're not interested in business, you're not interested in whatever, or you're not a big fan of what I'm talking about, you don't have to watch the video. You can leave. You can honestly just leave. Click off the video because what's the point? You're wasting your own time. But you know what? Sit down and watch it if you really want, and leave a comment. I don't care. But yeah. So what I wanted to talk about was so far in my journey, right? So lately, I've in my business, I had to really focus more on getting myself recognized, right? Getting more exposure for my business because the thing that people don't realize is when you're starting a business, no one knows you fucking exist. No one, right? No one knows you exist. No one knows. No one's seen any credentials of what you've done with the business, right? Sure, if you've had a job and you've done really good in that job, and that business has something to do with what you did at your previous employment, then maybe you can use it to your advantage. But for the vast majority of the time, you need to build it from freaking scratch. You need to build value from scratch. You have to edit your offer, right? Which is why I'm rereading $100 Million Offers by Alex Hermosi. Um, I've been I've been attending a lot of events. I've been going to BNI events, Chamber of Commerce events, networking events. I've been I've been doing outreach, LinkedIn. I've been focusing on creating content on LinkedIn. But the point of what I'm talking about is starting a business is not for everyone. It really isn't. And I know you're probably not going to want to hear this. And I'm not saying this like I know what I chose. I expected it to be like this. But I'm not going to, because I know some creators on YouTube will say, well, just start a business. Now, I don't think everyone should start a business because there's people out there, right? Starting a business, first of all, is very hard. It's not easy. You're going to face a ton of ambiguity. You might waste money. You might waste months on shit you realize is not working. You might have to iterate offers. You might have to learn stuff on the flies. You're going to have to do a lot of things that you're not used to doing, right? And learn it on the fly, right? And if you've never done sales, well, you're going to be a salesperson, especially in the beginning, right? Because you got to do sales to make money, to be considered a business, right? Because if you're not making money, it's basically a hobby. And I think the thing that people don't realize is that a business is not a cakewalk. It's not. It's actually like think about it like this, right? Maybe you're sick of your job, right? You're working Monday through Friday. Maybe you're completely sick of working at that job, right? Because it's mundane. I've done it before. It's very mundane. But you're getting paid every Friday. So Friday there's a high. You're super excited. Everyone's in a good mood because Saturday and Sunday is coming up, the weekend, right? But when you're in business, weekends are just regular days, just like Tuesday and Wednesday, because they're all the same basically. You're still going to be especially early on in a business before you have systems in place. You're going to be working 7 days a week. You're not going to you're not going to have that just time that you're just that free time that you're not going to have to worry about anything. You're always going to have something to worry about when you're an entrepreneur, right? That's one. Two, you have to get exposure, as I mentioned before, right? And that exposure could be social media, it could be doing sales, going door to door, right? It could be networking, it could be a ton of different stuff. It could be pitching, going to events and pitching people, or pitching a crowd, right? To get yourself exposed. That takes time. That takes That takes practice, that takes a lot of effort, right? And most people I don't think are willing to do that effort, right? But if you're one of the few that are willing to do that, I recommend just to get a coach, right? Because I don't know where I would be if I didn't get a coach. I think I would have been further behind. I would have been far worse if I did not have a coach, right? Get a coach. People are going to, I know growing up, people tell you, oh, it's a waste of money to pay $5,000 for a coach or whatever, right? But people waste about six figures on a college degree that gets them jack shit when they graduate, or they end up getting a college degree on a major that they're not going to use when they graduate or ever use. So I think that's a scam. Investing in a mentor or a coach is not a scam, and that's probably the best way. That's probably the most proven way that you'll actually accomplish your goals even more, right? Obviously, you want to do your research. You don't want to just get any type of mentor. You don't want to just get some random dude. You want to make sure you got the right mentor for you, right? And sometimes you have to try out the mentor before you find out if he's the right mentor for you. But the point is, you want to make sure you get the right people. You want to make sure you have some like outside accountability when you're working on the business. And if you don't really have money, what I recommend you do is go on Score. Score is this score.org. It's basically this organization, and they provide free mentorship for businesses, right? For people. And it's always better to pay for the mentor, because when you pay for the mentor, you're paying attention and the mentor is paying attention. So you're both paying attention. That's what happens when you pay. When you pay, both people like treat it more seriously. But when it's free, it does help. Like it definitely pushed me to you know, I had a Score mentor. I would say I didn't get that business off the ground, but I worked in sales. He encouraged me because I would have never worked in sales if it wasn't for that mentor. And I would say that was a very great experience. It definitely built me thicker skin when it came to dealing with rejection, when it came to dealing with awkward social interactions where most people would fall apart, but I just grew to just not care. It basically became water off the duck's back because of my sales experience. So I highly recommend if you haven't yet, get a mentor, right? Because starting a business is psychologically torture. It's psychological torture. Now, it sounds simple in theory, right? All you have to do is get people to pay you for your product or service and then repeat that process over and over until you scale. And then when you scale, you build from there. It sounds very simple, but it's not. Well, it's simple, but it's not easy. That's what I mean to say. It's not easy, right? You're going to have to you control your entire schedule, right? You're going to control your entire schedule. There's going to be a lot of days you're not going to know what the fuck you're doing. Let's be honest. I could curse now cuz it's 8 minutes into the video. YouTube is not going to ban me, but you're not going to just get sorry, I lost my train of thought. But you you just need to start with oh yeah, there's going to be days you're not going to know what to do with your business, right? There's going to be answers you're not going to know what to do. You're going to have to learn it on the fly. You're going to have to learn it on the spot, right? There's going to be days you might even drift off to the wrong direction, and that's okay, right? You know, guys say be disciplined, be disciplined. I don't think it's yes, be disciplined, of course, but I also think that you're human. Like you're gonna drift at times, right? I guarantee you, the most successful guys drift. They drift. Sometimes they get distracted. Obviously, if you get distracted, just recover from it and put yourself back on course, right? Speak with your coach, speak with your mentor. But basically, you're gonna face so much ambiguity, and that's the most torturous part about it because you're gonna face ambiguity. You're gonna be questioning yourself. You're gonna be thinking, why is this not gonna work? I don't think this is gonna work. Or you're gonna be thinking that you're gonna be like, why I should start another type of business. You're gonna think all those types of things are gonna come into your mind, and it's really like think of it like a filter, right? Because if you really want it badly enough, right? Like you want to be a successful entrepreneur, right? I'm assuming anyone who wants to start a business, wants to be a successful entrepreneur, you're going to want it so bad. Like, if you want it badly enough, you're willing to endure the shit that you're going to have to go through to get it off the ground, right? And then I haven't reached that stage yet, but when I'm and then when I'm running the business, that stage is going to be even more fucking brutal, right? That's going to be a different set of challenges, and I expect it. I expect it. I accepted it, and I know there's going to be days that I'm probably going to want to put my head through the wall because that's just how it works. But I want you guys to just think of it as a filter when it comes to building a business from scratch and building value, facing rejection. Just think of it as, okay, maybe I'm facing I'm not making as much money as I want, or I'm not getting the results I wanted yet. Just think of it as it's a natural filter for the people who say they want to. It's nice to have a business, but it's not a priority for them, right? It's going to filter out those motherfuckers, the people that don't take it, that think about starting a business, but they're not really that committed, right? Their plan B is getting a job and doing that. My plan B is if the business doesn't work, then I'll find another way of making the business work. And if plan B doesn't work, then I'll go to plan C. And if plan C doesn't work, plan D. I'll keep going until it works. But there's different paths to it. And you just have to understand that. You have to understand that most people aren't going to resonate with you. Most people people who work jobs aren't going to understand what you're doing either. So that's another thing about business, is that it's going to be very lonely in the beginning. One thing that really helped me with it takes time to build, but I would start attending events, especially if you're in a big city. I've been going to startup events, and from the startup events, they're very welcoming. They're very, if you frequent it on a weekly basis, and they give me access to a free co-working space, so it's a win-win with free coffee. So I go and I see the same people over and over again weekly. So when you see the same people, the contrast effect, eventually you guys feel like you guys know each other, or you guys trust each other, right? Because you guys see each other frequently on a weekly basis. And I ended up even befriending some of them. And that's something that a few years ago I never thought was possible, right? I remember when I first wanted to start a business, I would look around and I'm like, oh, none of my friends are really into what I'm doing, or I don't really know anyone in my town that's really into that stuff. So, it felt very lonely. It felt isolating. But now it's beginning to show like a light in the end of the tunnel. But yeah, I'm still grinding. I'm still working on my business. But yeah, that's basically what I've learned so far with it. I'm going to keep talking about my journey as this progresses, but I hope this video helped. I appreciate you guys for watching. Thank you guys so much, and take care.